Mentioned the Knights are 20-point favorites over Georgia Tech. A former Knight coach, Jeff Collins, leads the Yellow Jackets. Let's learn more about Saturday's opponent. Let's welcome in Rod Mackenzie. He writes for GoJackets.com, part of 24/7 Sports, as well at GA Panther on Twitter. Rod, welcome into the Sons of UCF Live.
Hey, thanks for having me. I don't mind being outnumbered. I'm just ready to talk some football.
Well, let's get a sense of the scene in Atlanta with Georgia Tech. A lot of hot seats out there. Jeff Collins and perhaps former UCF athletic director Mr. Stansberry also on a hot seat.
Yeah, the natives are restless for sure, and they want something to happen right now. But the way it's playing out, if there's going to be a change, it may not happen until the bye week, which is 2 weeks away. So the word right now is patience, and we've heard a lot of things leading us to believe it is going to happen, but it's just a matter of when.
Well, why has this team struggled so far this year? If you had to kind of pinpoint a few things, what have been the challenges?
It's been really surprising because what I see in practice has not translated to the field in games. They opened up against Clemson, 14-10 in the third quarter. A overthrown pass was called interference, and that kept the drive going, and it led to Tech's number one tackler, Charlie Thomas, being thrown out of the game on a targeting call. And when he left the game, everything went south. And, of course, we all know Dabo doesn't like to run the score up, so he just kept the pressure on. But, the offensive line has one starter with any experience. You have at the guard positions, you have two guys that transferred from Alabama and Clemson. You have a freshman who only played a couple games at the end of last year, starting at center, and the other tackle is a redshirt freshman. So I think they've been able to move the ball, but when they get across the 50 and in situations where maybe they can put some points on the board, you have illegal procedure penalties, that type of thing that's really stalled a lot of drives defensively. I think they have some players there. Keon White has, averaging 5 tackles a game. He has 3 sacks already this year. So they've been getting pressure on the quarterback. But the issue, and this may be a big issue in the game Saturday, is they haven't been disciplined and staying in their lanes. They preach, be disciplined. Don't try to do someone else's job. Just do your job. And this has really gotten them in trouble defensively. And if you watch film from that Ole Miss game, you'll see that, there was a lot of big holes because players got out of their gap when they were rushing the passer. So, it's a lot of them admitted that the up-tempo offense got the best of them last week against a good Ole Miss team. And we heard things like we weren't mentally ready, that type of thing. We came out flat, and you wonder why a team would come out flat, when you had such a big game as Ole Miss.
The schedule doesn't get much easier this week, going on the road, 20-point underdogs. What does Georgia Tech have to do to win this game this week? Can they win this game this week?
I'm not sure about winning, but I think they can make the game interesting. And I think what they have to do is learn from their mistakes last week, because you're going to see probably a lot of the same type offense that they saw last week, with the exception of the fact that you have a quarterback that can really run the ball. And Ole Miss, they didn't try to run the ball with their quarterback, and but they just have to. I think they have the players, and they just have to, understand that you can't take plays off. You have to get out there and play hard every play, and I think, they go 3 deep at the defensive ends. They go 3 deep at the defensive tackles. So up front, I expect them to, shuffle a lot of players in and out of the game to keep them fresh. They have 2 of the better linebackers in the league, and Sealy and Charlie Thomas. And if they can get some pressure up front. I mean, naturally, you know, every game you hear coach say, "Yeah, we want to establish the run," and every coach on the other side says we need to shut down the run. So that's going to be the key. And you know, the first 3 games, the opponent has scored on the first 2 possessions before the defense was able to settle in and shut things down. So they have to make some stops on the first couple of series of this game.
Tell us a little bit more about quarterback Jeff Sims. How can he cause the Knights problems?
Well, first of all, he's a very athletic quarterback. He too is dangerous when he takes off. And last week, you know, Ole Miss played that 3-4, and their linebackers were as fast as any linebacker group I've seen in a while, and they did not let Jeff get free. And he, you know, they flushed him out of the pocket a lot. The offensive line really didn't give him a chance to set up in the pocket and find his receivers, and that's been an issue thus far this year. So hopefully with this week of practice, they were able to work some things out. And if he can get some time, he has a strong arm. I know Chip Long, the offensive coordinator, he likes to you know, share the ball, move it around, short intermediate passes, and then if he feels the secondary is moving up, he'll go for the juggler and go for that long pass. But I think, you know, they just want to, you know, move the chains, you know, with that short passing game and get and possibly get the tight ends involved, because they really haven't been able to do that this year.
Rod, how do you expect this team to respond? Obviously, things are down right now, but you know they could obviously muster up and come in and put up a fight, or they could I guess fold over early, and we could all be watching home improvement shows. Where do you think this Georgia Tech team is going to be at right now?
You know, the couple of the players, some of the leaders have taken over after what happened last Saturday, and they've really gotten the team together, talk to them and say, hey, you have to be positive out there. You can't be negative. We still have a long way to go in this season. We've only played 3 games, and one of those guys is a local guy down there, Zamari Walton, who he's been a starter there for 3 years. He lives about 45 minutes away from campus. I know he's going to be fired up because he's going to have a lot of family and friends there, and he's trying to rally his fellow defensive teammates to come out and play hard from the beginning and make those stops in the beginning. But it's all about leadership and keeping the team together. And if they can do that, maybe they can do some damage on Saturday.
I don't know if you're aware, but George O'Leary is throwing out the coin toss this week to start the game. There's some mixed reviews of him.
He might throw it, actually, Mike, to be fair.
Here in Orlando, I mean, a lot of people love him as maybe the best coach we've ever had, but a lot of people don't think so highly of him. What's the view of Coach O'Leary over at Georgia Tech?
He's been up here for some ceremonies at halftime, and everyone up here likes George. They like what he did when he took over, and he brought in Ralph Friedgen. They had a high-powered offense, and then eventually they get some defense going. But everyone thought highly of George. But he can be gruff. He had his son monitor everything we said on our board to make sure we were minding our P's and Q's. So, he was definitely aware of what was going on around him.
Wait, that happened there too? I thought that was just a UCF thing. He was a little gruff in Atlanta. I didn't know. You mentioned George O'Leary, known for defense. Despite the 42-0 loss to Ole Miss, there's still some highlights and some things to look to on Georgia Tech's defense that could cause the Knights problems Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, the week before they had 3 interceptions. They had a forced fumble. So their goal when they go out there is to create turnovers. And, the interesting thing is that their defensive ends have really put a lot of pressure on the quarterback thus far this year. And it's been a case of, getting an arm on the shoulder of the quarterback and an athletic quarterback able to shake loose. And, get out of the pocket and make some plays. So they have to wrap up and make sure they make those plays. And, the secondary really has not been tested that much. That Ole Miss did not throw the ball that much. They did a pretty good job against a surprisingly strong Western Carolina offense that took advantage of the transfer portal and had some pretty good athletes out there. But I think the key to Georgia Tech is their linebacker group. If A. Sealy and Charlie Thomas play like they're capable of playing, it could be a good day for the defense.
Right after the Ole Miss game, Lane Kiffin had some comments. I'll paraphrase, essentially saying he stopped throwing the ball because of the hot seat and what was going on the other side of the sideline. Obviously, referring to Jeff Collins. How did those comments play up at Georgia Tech?
Yeah, if things weren't bad enough, with what the fans were feeling about Jeff Collins, to hear that, made them feel even worse. And of course, we all know Kiffin's an interesting guy. I mean, they're up 35-0, and one of his players makes a bad play, and he's bent over agonizing like it's the end of the world, So, I don't think that really that's something he should have said publicly, but he did, and it's not surprising based on who he is.
If this really is it for Coach Collins, what do you guys want to see next? Do you want to go back to the old option offense, or do you want to see something different? Do you have any names in mind of who you want to be the next coach?
I mean, Paul Johnson, I really like Paul a lot, enjoyed covering him, but please, let's not go back to the triple option. I mean, that's why they're in the trouble they're in now, because they tried to go from 10 or 11 years with a triple option and getting back to a spread type of offense, playing from the shotgun, trying to recruit a different type of offensive lineman. They really only had maybe one or two offensive linemen on the entire squad that really translated to what they're doing now. So I think they just need to keep along the same lines as what they're doing now. You hear some silly names out there, Deion Sanders for one. I just can't see Georgia Tech paying Deion Sanders, and money is sort of an issue at Georgia Tech right now. There's a game going on right now between Coastal Carolina and Georgia State, and the Coastal Carolina coach's name has come up quite a bit. So we'll see. They usually keep coaching searches close to the vest, and it'll be even more interesting if Todd Stansbury is in trouble and is not taking part in that, and if the donors really are the ones that are going to be in control of what happens next.
For Georgia Tech to leave Orlando with a victory, what has to happen?
They have to make stops on third down, which is something they haven't been able to do. They have to get in that third down situation where it's third and long instead of third and short, because they have not been able to get any stops on third and short. They have to have, one or two interceptions, I think. Offensively, they have to get the running game going. They have to give Jeff Sims time to throw the ball. And if he can get out there and do his thing, like we saw him do, in the at Mercedes-Benz against North Carolina on national TV last year, where he took over the game and won the game, pretty much single-handedly. I think that would give them a chance, and of course, if they can stay close going into that second half, that's going to make a big difference for the team coming out of the locker room. They're going to have something to play for. So it's really key that they stay close in that first half.
Rod Mackenzie with GoJackets.com. We appreciate your insights and for stopping by Sons of UCF Live.
Hey, thanks for having me on, and good luck Saturday.
Thanks much, Rod.